Hello and welcome to another edition of Questions for Lawyers. I'm your host, Jeff Adelman. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I don't know nearly enough about, but I know somebody who does, and that's why we're here. Intellectual property, trademark, copyrights, all of those type of things that you see in the news that you don't really know a lot about. I thought it would be a great idea to have somebody come on and explain that to us. So today, I'm very proud to welcome to the audience April Martindale of Martindale Law.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. The purpose of this show is to break the barriers between lawyers and lay people. I know that sometimes it can be intimidating to speak with a lawyer, but we're live on the air. We're answering the questions in real time. You get to see our reactions. It's fun. And these are things that some questions have come to me from my clients and friends, and some I'm just curious about. So April being here today is a real treat, and we're going to get a lot of information from her.
I'll do my best.
I know you will. April, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in intellectual property and trademark law?
Sure. All right. Well, I took an intellectual property law class at Nova, my alma mater. So in law school, I took IP, and I was kind of fascinated with the copyright process, what it took to get or secure a trademark and patents, protection for inventions. So when I was in law school, I decided to send all my 51 songs to the U.S. Copyright Office to get them secure. And I was like, oh, this is pretty easy. I can do this. And I had a colleague of mine in New York. He wanted to get something trademarked. He wanted to get a logo trademarked. So I just worked through it and figured it out and got it secure. So I said, this might be the right avenue for me. Also, since I have a singing background and songwriting background, I like protecting creative works. So that's kind of how I fell into the IP realm.
So copywriting your own songs and helping some of your colleagues before you had a practice yourself. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So, well, and are you from South Florida?
I'm not. I'm originally from Queens, New York.
Okay.
But I was born in Manhattan.
And where did you go to law school?
I went to law school out here. So I went to Nova Law.
All right.
And I'm an alum. Yes.
Are you a knight or a shark?
Shark.
Oh, see, I'm a knight.
Oh,
so does that make me a shark now? I'm not sure. I mean, I am a lawyer, so some people might just say I should take the shark. So, well, explain if you could why it's important to trademark.
Okay. All right. The importance of getting your brand logo or slogan trademark is pretty much for protection from infringement. Now, infringement is when somebody uses what's yours without your permission. So if you do get it trademarked, you have that secured. It's secured from the federal government. It's secured by the federal government, by the USPTO. And you can bring an action in court in case somebody decides to utilize your logo, your brand, your goodwill. You can sue them and you can get damages. If you don't have the trademark, it's a lot harder to be able to file a claim or claim damages or anything if you don't have it already secured. So that's the benefit of having a trademark. So
now you mentioned the USPTO. Can you explain what that is?
I'm sorry. The USPTO, that's the United States Patent and Trademark Office. They're who you have to go through in order to get a trademark. You have to file with them, try to get it on the supplemental or the official register. I'm sorry. I know these are not layman terms.
There's only so much you can go layman on this, but
there's different applications you can file. The process could take a while. It could take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on how much you have to trademark and how, because it goes back and forth. Excuse me. Once you file your application for your trademark, they'll assign it to an examining attorney. After the examining attorney checks it out, they'll send you back with an office action saying whether they're going to go with it, that you're good and you're clear, or no, you need to fix this because of these 5 different factors. It could be confusing, likelihood of confusion, strikingly similar. There's a lot of different aspects where they say they'll refuse your application and you have to try to reprocess it. And it's like a kind of like a tug of war, but that's.
Well, let me ask you this, because they're kind of intertwined. Trademark,
Yeah.
copyright.
Yes.
What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so trademark is, all right, let me start with copyright. So copyright is protecting an author's creative work, right?
Okay.
So trademark is protecting your brand, your logo, your slogan, something where you don't want it to be confused with anybody else's brand or slogan or what have you. But copyright is to protect an author's work, creative work, books, poetry, those kind of things.
Okay. All right. So basically, a trademark would be like a logo, and a copyright would be a song.
Correct.
Is that a good way to?
Yes, very good way.
Okay. Who in your practice, who comes to you to register a trademark?
Various different businesses. I've had businesses, restoration companies, air conditioner companies, law firms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're a business owner and you're making money and you have your stuff in the use of commerce, meaning that you're making money with your brand and you don't want anybody to steal it, those are the people that are coming to me to make sure that they get their brand secured. So just business owners.
And in terms of copyright, those are mostly just artists?
Yes, mostly artists, authors.
What about like website design?
I haven't had that come by yet.
But you're expecting it, I'm sure.
I haven't. You're right. If it comes, I can take care of them as well. But I haven't had that come my way.
Well, the first subject that I put on your post for this show was intellectual property.
Right.
Can you explain to the audience exactly what intellectual property is?
So yes, intellectual property. It is what can be described as copyrights, patents, trademarks, something that is creatively yours, which needs to be protected. It's the property of the creator's mind. So, for instance, patents, that's the property of the inventor's mind. He's putting that out. He or she is putting that out. Trademark, same thing. You come up with your own logo. You come up with your own style, your own brand. You want to get that secured. That's all property. So it's kind of what it says. Intellectual property is the property of the mind.
So intellectual property kind of is the umbrella that all of your work comes under.
Yes. So again, copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade dress, all those are aspects of intellectual property law.
What happens if somebody violates intellectual property of somebody? What could be the penalty?
Well, a lot of damages. If we had a conversation on these copyright infringement cases, there have been these large copyright infringement cases recently in the news, and people are getting sued for millions of dollars. So the monetary damages are quite huge.
We were talking about the Pharrell, Robin Thicke case.
Yeah. Marvin Gaye's family got they're just due. It's sad. I don't mean to laugh, but it's bad. Like, you have to really, really be careful. You have to make sure that if you come up with a creative work, or maybe you borrow something, it can't be strikingly similar. And if you want to utilize somebody's creative, artistic, you have to ask permission. You have to get the license. You have to come up with some type of agreement. But you can't profit off somebody else's creative work.
All right. Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
As a kid, I was a huge fan of Weird Al Yankovic. Okay. And Weird Al always parodied Michael Jackson, Nirvana, anybody he could.
Yeah.
How does somebody go and make money doing something like that legally?
Well, all right. So parodies, that's all right. Parodies, it's a little more distinct than just like copying from somebody else, because it's meant to be humorous, and in jest. So I haven't really come across any parody cases where people have really received damages, because it's not the same. It's not like just trying to profit off of, I'm going to use your stuff and get rich. It's different. It's funny. It's, we want to have that type of stuff in society. So
Mhm.
parody has been able to get by.
And it's so obvious that it's not the real song.
Correct.
So, well, I'm very thankful that it was allowed, because 13-year-old Jeff really appreciated that. And the same thing goes with a skit show, sketch comedy like Saturday Night Live.
Right.
How are they able to copy commercials, movies, stuff like it? Is it along the same lines?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much, yes.
So there's a wide range for parody, and it's completely allowed because it's very obvious.
Correct.
Yeah. Mad Magazine comes to mind as well.
Oh, gosh, you're taking me back.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Mad Magazine stopped printing this year.
Yeah.
Very sad day for the kids. You also do entertainment contracts?
Yes, I do some entertainment law.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, again, I told you I had a background as a singer and songwriter when I was going to high school in New York. And I remember I wanted to sing, but I hated the music industry. I hated the fact that the contracts were so one-sided and did not favor the artists. So I told myself that I'm going to become an attorney before I sign and become a singer, because I'm going to write my own contracts. So entertainment contracts, they're very important to protect both parties. I like to protect the artist first and foremost. I like to protect the most creative person that's actually lending their talents, to society. So they're important, but they can be very, very one-sided. It's still kind of nasty and tricky, but it's not as bad as it was back in the day. Now that a lot of things are online, it's less albums, it's less, it's a lot different than it was before.
Well, let me ask you this. Intellectual property, copyright. Recently, as I told you, I wrote a book.
Yes.
And obviously I wrote it. And I put in, thank you. Choosing the right lawyer is no accident. Get it? But in any event, I wrote it. I published it through Amazon Publishing. Yeah. Am I protected just by doing that, or do I actually have to file a copyright?
Well, I would suggest doing both. I mean, it's good that you self-published.
Right.
That's the way of the world now. But no, I would definitely suggest copyrighting your book as well, just for extra protection. Since it's published, there's already notice out there. You do not have to copyright it. It's just an extra step or extra layer of protection. So the answer is yes, you can. The answer is no, you don't have to. You'll still be okay because it's out there in the public domain. So
let's say I wanted to do it. I come to you. How do you go about doing that?
Okay, so I would get your book. I would send your book with the application to the U.S. Copyright Office, pay the fees, and wait till I get the printout showing that your book is completely covered with copyright. I'll give you your original. I'll keep a copy. And that's how it goes. The copyrights are faster than trademarks.
How much does something like that cost on average, ballpark?
Okay. Well, the fees for a copyright, it's about $55 for the application, which is not bad at all. As far as trademark application, that's a lot different. You can go from $225 to $400.
Just for the application?
Just for the application, and that does not include if there's extra goods and services. It's another $275 per good or service with that application. So it's much cheaper to copyright. Yeah, it sounds like it.
And in terms of like if somebody's coming off the street and they're wanting to register let's say register a trademark. I go all around. Okay. They come to you, they want to register a trademark. How much can they expect to pay? Soup to nuts. Okay. Because that's what everybody wants to know. Every single lawyer on here, I ask, well, what would you charge for something like that? Because that's really, at the end of the day, that's what people want to know. So, I mean, you don't have to give, I know there's probably not a set price, but if you could just give a range.
Of course. So it could be anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. It just depends, again, because the price goes up with the goods and services. And you can file for one good and service, but the USPTO might say, no, this actually covers this one too and this one too, and they want you to pay per class. So it could go up. it can go up, but normally starting about $2,000.
That's what somebody could expect.
Yes.
And getting back into your entertainment law, are you talking about representing people as their agent? When
No.
you're not talking about that, you're talking
No.
about reviewing the actual contract. Okay. What should somebody who, say, is an author or an artist, what are some of the more important things that they should look for in that contract to protect themselves?
They want to make sure that they remain the owner of their work. A lot of times these contracts might try to assign it to whoever they're signing up with, and they might try to take their rights and use their rights and just maybe grant them some royalty. But you want to always have possession of what is yours. So I'd say the main thing to look out for is that you remain the owner of your work, bottom line.
I know the Beatles had an issue with that. Michael Jackson got the Beatles catalog probably because of a similar issue to that.
Yeah.
Well, tell me this, in your practice, what is it that's the most rewarding for you in your practice?
All right. The most rewarding for me is seeing that I was able to secure somebody's brand so they can go out there, they can make money with it. They don't have to worry. I've had a couple of people that's tried to file their own trademarks. Yeah.
And they hire you to clean up the mess?
Yeah. It's just good to, when they finally hear, hey, you're good. You're published on the register. Like, they're like, oh my God, like, they're so excited. So just to know that their brand is protected and their work is protected, that gives me joy.
Do you ever deal with cease and desist letters?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Okay. Oh, what do you want to know?
Well, basically, do you send them out?
Yes.
Okay. Have you encountered a situation where somebody has sent a cease and desist letter to your client, but it was something where you had to defend the client in that situation?
Yes. So I've come across a cease and desist a couple months ago that came to a potential client, and I reviewed it, and the potential client, we call them PCs. Potential client was using the brand first. So he didn't trademark it, but he was using it first. And there was proof that he was making money. He had a lot of YouTube visitors, plenty of subscribers. So it could be shown that, hey, he's been using it. It's been in commerce, whether or not he had trademarked it. So he had greater rights to use it. Mm-hmm. So let me give you a scenario. So if you have a trademark, all right, say you don't have a trademark. Let's you and me.
Okay.
You don't have a trademark, right? So you have Question for Lawyers, right? So you're using Question for Lawyers since 1990, right? I decide I'm going to go and trademark Question for Lawyers in 2000, right? And then I send you a cease and desist letter saying you are not to use Question for Lawyers. You can come back at me and say, no, hey, I've been using this since 1990. Here's proof. I've been getting money. This is my brand. Everybody can recognize this as being mine. So no, you don't have a case against me. You had a duty to go and do your research to see if this was already in the marketplace.
But it's a lot easier if I had actually trademarked it.
Yeah.
A lot easier. Mm-hmm. Do you find that this is coming up more these days with websites? I mean, years ago, used to hear about people trying to steal other people's names for their websites.
Right. I'm hearing more that people are trying to sue on like domain trolls. But domains are not protected by trademark.
What do you mean by that?
So a domain is just a regular name. It's not protected. There's different law, but it's not considered intellectual property, a domain name.
A domain name.
Correct.
All right. So, for example, I know you're not into sports, but actually the Marlins, the baseball team, you can't go to Miami Marlins. Somebody has that name. So they actually have to type in Marlins or Florida Marlins. And there's nothing they can do about it.
They can't. Unless they want to pay the piper.
Right. Because that was done many years ago, I think, when people weren't as wise to it. So I guess what would be your advice to anybody out there who has a trademark or has a name of a business?
Secure your domain name. secure that first and foremost. So if you're about to open up a business, I would research your domain names, and I would be careful on which name you pick, because if you have a really prominent name, like you said, the Dolphins.
Yeah, Marlins.
Sorry,
The Marlins.
Look, sports. Look.
It's okay. Everybody has forgotten about them anyway. But there was something that came to mind because they changed their name.
I would just make sure you secure my domain. I would do a search, do a thorough search first. Check the Secretary of State websites for the business name. Check GoDaddy. Check other different domain providers to make sure that name is clear. Because again, once you go big, these people will hold on to your name, and it gets ugly. It gets ugly because they hold it for ransom, and they charge a very, very high price.
What if somebody actually registers your name?
That's not happening.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm not. I know for you, but for people out there, let's say you're a businessman, and you want to make it easy for somebody to remember how to get your information. You want to use your name, and somebody goes out and actually buys the site for your name. Mm-hmm. Is that legal?
They can. I mean, but they can buy the domain name. They can do all of that, and you'll get stuck having to negotiate. That's why you want to kind of do, cross your T's and dot your I's early, so that doesn't happen, but it happens all the time.
Seems like that's a real problem. Is anybody addressing that
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. But no, right now it's still running rampant where people are getting paid, just trying to hold on to these prominent, these big money names. So no, I don't think it's been addressed yet, but it needs to. This definitely needs to be something that there's some type of repercussions for,
Absolutely, because I could see that being I've actually heard of different types of marketing where you type in somebody's name and it directs them to the other law firm or something like that. It just doesn't seem like that should be the way things are, but unfortunately, I think the laws are slow to catch up to Google and technology, and I think we're seeing that definitely over the past 5 to 10 years in all aspects of life.
Yeah. So. Well, people do try to fight it. That's where the cease and desist letters come in. Again, they see somebody trolling, or some people are trying to sell or hold on to domain names. Give me $100,000. I'll give you. It's ridiculous. But something that still needs to be fought.
Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit just about some of your community involvement. I know you're very active. Different groups, organizations you're in.
Yeah, I'm in a few different groups. I'm part of the Coral Springs Chamber, part of P&A with Scott Brooks.
With Scott,
Joe
Mayor Brooke.
Yes. We do the Lawyers Lunch. That's where I met you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of the BNI and the Tower Club, and with some of the voluntary bar associations like Broward County Bar Association, Caribbean Bar, Gwyneth Cherry. So yeah, I do my fair share of networking.
We have to. Yeah. We have to. But there aren't a lot of people that I know that do exactly what you do, and I'm sure that I've asked a lot of questions here today. I could keep going and going and going, but if anybody would like to reach you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Okay. There's different ways. You can contact the firm at 954-636-6330. It's Martindale Law. Or you can find us online, martindalelaw.org, O-R-G. Or you can shoot me an email, april@martindalelaw.org, and I'll be happy to help you.
And where's your office?
I am in Sunrise. Just moved into a new suite in Sunrise. So I'm on Oakland Park Boulevard, 1 block east of University in the Atrium West building, Suite 162.
And you just got that new office, so congratulations.
Thank you.
It's funny, these days, I asked for the location, all that, but at the same time, if somebody is not in Broward County, they can still use you. They don't even probably have to go into your office.
Absolutely. I do a lot of help over the phone and online and stuff like that.
Absolutely. With DocuSign and all the different FaceTimes and all that, it's, I think less and less lawyers are even having offices. So it's pretty incredible. Well, I guess for anybody out there who is starting a business, registering a trademark, writing a song, what would you leave them with?
Well, again, it's awesome when you bring these creative juices and energy out into the world, because it makes a difference. So I would just protect myself. I would protect myself, put it out there, and make sure you have all the protections you possibly can. So again, your copyright, if you need a copyright, that's for your author's work. If you need a trademark, that's for your logo, your brand name, your slogan. If you need a patent, that's for an invention. So just protect yourself, protect your work. It's yours. So
my dad used to have a sign in his office, in a world full of copies, be an original. But make sure you have that original trademark by April Martindale. Thank you so much for being on. It really was a pleasure. Thank you to all of you for listening and watching. The show will be on podcast shortly, and I appreciate your loyalty, paying attention to the program. If you need to reach me for any reason, my number is 954-341-2777, and I can be emailed at jeff@adelmanlawyers.com. Be well, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.